Section 0 of Young Folks' Treasury, Volume 3, edited by Hamilton Wright Mabie. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Ellen Preckel. Young Folks' Treasury, Volume 3, edited by Hamilton Wright Mabie. Section 0. Introduction 1. Classic Tales. After our boys and girls have read the first half of this volume, containing selected and simplified stories from some of the greatest books of all time, their authors will cease to be merely names. Homer, Shakespeare, Chaucer, Cervantes and Bunyan will be found here as familiar and easy in style as Cinderella or the Three Bears. True enough, the first word in classic tales may look somewhat alarming to the eyes of youthful seekers after romance and adventure, but we challenge them to turn to any one of these selections from immortal masterpieces and not become spellbound, and, moreover, impatient for more. And believing now that they have grown very much interested in these famous books, of course we also believe they will want to learn something about them. Following the order of our stories, we must begin with Don Quixote. Its author wrote it under great difficulties and distress, but one would never think so, as it is full of laughable doings. When you read our selections, you must not think that Don Quixote was merely a silly old man, for indeed he was a very noble gentleman, and tried with all his might to do what he believed to be his duty, and in no act of his life was there ever a stain of dishonor or of meanness. As for his queer fancies, you will find in your own experience that many things are not as they seem. Next comes one of Gulliver's voyages. Under all this account of a tiny race of people, there is fun poked at government and its ministers. But we do not concern ourselves with such matters. All we think about is the wonderful deeds of Gulliver in the land of the Lilliputians. Do not think such people are impossible. For did not Stanley, the explorer, find in Africa a race of dwarfs so little that he called them pygmies? And perhaps, when some of our young readers grow up, they, too, may discover small folks in the world. In regard to the Arabian Nights, from which we give you 3 choice stories, you ought to know the way they came to be told. Once upon a time a Sultan of Arabia thought that all women were of not much use, so every day he married a new wife, and before 24 hours were over he ordered that she have her head cut off. One brave woman thought of a clever plan by which she could end this cruelty. She went to the palace and offered to marry the Sultan, and that night she began to tell him such fascinating stories that when morning came he still wished to hear more. He commanded that she should not be beheaded until all her stories were told. Then for 1,001 nights, night after night, she gave him fresh stories, and by the end of that time the Sultan had fallen very much in love with her. Naturally they lived happily forever after. Perhaps these 3 stories which we have chosen will compel you to seek out all the rest, and if you do, we are quite sure you will not wonder that the brave lady won the heart of the wicked Sultan and made him good. From the Iliad and the Odyssey of Homer we have given you some soul-stirring happenings. Several thousand years ago these stories were sung by a blind minstrel named Homer. Some day you may read Homer's sublime poetry in the original Greek, and the selections which we give you will help you to remember the stories when you are struggling with that difficult language. Parts of the old favorite Robinson Crusoe follow the Grecian tales, and we trust its simple language will make the little ones love it more than ever. You will remember that Defoe wrote this nearly 200 years ago. Everybody liked long stories in those days, but we have all heard children of to-day ask when a somewhat lengthy book would end, no matter how interesting, and many grown-ups are guilty of reading the close of a story before they have gone very far in it. So with that in mind, we have put down in brief form most of Robinson Crusoe's important adventures during his 28 years on the desert island. Here we also give 3 splendid stories from Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, which were supposedly told to one another by a party of pilgrims on their way to Canterbury. According to our gentle author, who was one of them, they stopped overnight at a house in England called the Tabard Inn, and here they passed the hours repeating fine stories. Afterward Chaucer wrote these down in a book in quaint old English. One might look at these words all day long and not know in the least what some of them meant, though they do hold such beautiful tales. Now about Pilgrim's Progress. More than 200 years ago a tinker named John Bunyan was in jail, but one night this poor man left his prison and wandered into the land of dreams. There he saw wonderful sights and heard marvelous things, and as there was no one to listen to his dream, John Bunyan wrote it down and
Sample complete. Ready to continue?